Hey, deserving listeners, sister wives, let's watch.
Her house would rent that fast because there are no other rentals.
I don't want to buy. That's just crazy.
Cody and I have been butting heads like crazy the last little bit. He starts pushing this idea of buying on me, and I am like, no way.
I just want to scream at the idea of buying.
All right, so to catch you up, by the way, I have been messing around with different camera settings and different lighting situations. I'm at a standing desk right now. So if the video looks weird of me, it's probably because I'm dialing in a lot of different settings on the camera stuff, and I'm not sure if this is where I'm going to land. But anyway, so sometimes when you're watching a YouTube channel for years and they change cameras, you're like, what's happening? What's wrong with my eyes? Anyway, but to catch you up, they are in Arizona and they're talking about what they're going to do in the interim before the houses are built on the property that they purchased. And Cody has realized it's going to take a while to construct the houses, the ultimate houses. But I say ultimate houses, in all likelihood, once they build the houses on this property, he'll want to move again. He seems to be one of those people that just loves to move. Under normal circumstances, it can be extremely inconvenient, but maybe doable. But when you have 4 wives and several children, all in different schools and whatnot, and you're planning on building, and you're trying to figure out the logistics of who's going to live where and whether or not you're all going to live in the same house. Anyway, it just seems really unwise. And I've since learned that, because I thought that they just were in Lehi, the first season they're in Lehi, Utah. I thought they had been in Lehi for 20 years up until that point, but it turns out no, they were all over the place, Wyoming, and turns out they'd been moving a dozen or more times already before Lehi. And, people are going to move, but it just seems inconvenient and strange. Anyway, so to catch you up, I've been taking notes. We're in season 14. I think this is filmed in 2019 from context. I think it was published in 2020, but the filming, I think, was maybe summer of 2019. I'm not sure. Well, if they're in Arizona, but they're at high elevation, so maybe it's not as... I don't know. Anyway. But so they're talking about the houses that they're going to live in, up until the point that the houses are going to be built. And the houses might take a couple of years to build because there's no infrastructure on the property. And the property isn't really near infrastructure, water and sewer and electricity and cable and all the stuff. And so they have to build all that. Maybe they're going to use a well. I don't know. But they're all in different homes around Flagstaff, Arizona. And the houses are really far apart, different from when they were in Vegas, when they were all eventually in the same cul-de-sac. So they moved to Flagstaff. They're in a rental. And they're having massive financial problems. There's a lot of talk about real estate and resaleability. I don't know their financial situation. I always figure since they're on reality TV, then by now, since it's season 14, they must be well off to a certain point because the show will pay them, right? And then whatever kind of endorsement deals that they have, sponsored deals that they have on their Instagram, you just got to figure that they're doing pretty well, but maybe not. Maybe they aren't. And they certainly have a lot of kids to take care of. So there's that. Anyway, so there's a lot of talk about real estate, and Cody's particularly, even in his pitch to get them to move to Flagstaff, it was, his presentation that he gave, the PowerPoint, had a lot to do with resaleability. And so I don't know what's going on in his head, if he's worried about the future. I mean, there's a lot of college kids, right? I don't hear them talking about how they're financing all the college tuitions. you would imagine that they would want to help with the kids typically. Anyway, so another thing that happened, which was interesting in the first episode of this season, right now this is episode 9, but in the first episode, from my notes, the neighbors called the police on the family, on the Browns, because they were polygamists. They were a polygamous family. And the neighbors were harassing, essentially kind of stalking them, were staring at them through the window, trying to intimidate them, seemingly. This is all from their account, so who knows. But the police were called. That seemed like a factual thing that happened. And they were being harassed. And so one of the wives, maybe it was Mary, I think, had to move, essentially, because she didn't feel safe in her house, which is really a tragedy. It's just, bigotry knows no bounds. I mean, if you can have a problem with polygamy, for sure. You can have a stance on the power dynamics, for sure. But to target Mary, like, come on. And the kids, like, what the frick is wrong with you? So other things from my notes, Mary is still pulling away, seemingly. And at this point, I believe Mary's still living in Vegas because she's having trouble selling her house that's in the cul-de-sac for some reason. And in a one-on-one interview, she's like, so I got to stay behind in Vegas. And to tell you the truth, I don't really mind it. So I don't know what that means exactly, if she's wanting to distance from Cody, or if she just likes it in Vegas, or she doesn't like the sister wives, or I don't know. But that doesn't bode well for Mary and Cody, really. At the very least, it's going to create distance, out of sight, out of mind. You just slowly drift apart. I don't know. Then in episode 4, Christine is starting to openly fight with Cody. Christine doesn't want to live with the other women. She's adamant that she doesn't. Janelle and Christine are pretty adamant that they don't want to live as a whole family. And Cody really wants to live as a whole family. I think that Cody remembers the good old days of the family in the first 10, 15 years of the family, when there were a lot of young kids and the 3 sister wives and Cody really worked together as a team. And I think Cody wants to return to that. And I think in their religion, it's the ideal that you have one house for all the family members and all the sister wives. But Christine, and particularly Christine, is just like, never again, over my dead body, am I going to live with the other sister wives. And she doesn't really talk about why exactly, other than she just really likes living on her own. So I don't know if she has a conflict with others, or I don't know. I mean, certainly I can relate. But anyway, so Christine has always been confrontational with Cody to some extent, but it seems to be escalating. And I don't know what to make of that. On one hand, it's good to see people voicing their opinions and their assertiveness. On the other hand, it seems like it's an indication of resentment or a lack of a bond. When I work with couples, there's a way in which people talk to each other. And John Gottman and colleagues at the University of Washington here in Seattle, when they researched couples, they would code different behaviors, the way that they would talk about conflicts, and then they would track those couples over time, and they would find that there were certain indications that would seemed associated with divorce later on and breakups later on. And one of the indicators that seems to be highly correlated with divorce later on is defensiveness and stonewalling and resentment and that kind of thing, and contempt. So it seems like Christine might be in that zone. Because in the past, when Christine would talk back to Cody, which sounds funny because it infantilizes her, when Christine would conflict and confront Cody, at the end of the day, I hate that phrase, at the end of the day, but it kind of fits here. At the end of the day, literally at the end of the day, for them, when they would spend time together in the evening, Christine and Cody could have warmth and, see the conflict as anomalous to their overall relationship. And it doesn't seem to be that way anymore, which is I think, concerning for Christine and Cody's relationship. Also, let's see. Robyn is also openly fighting with Christine. She's always been more confrontational with Cody. I think possibly because she's been married before, and she will say that she vowed in the past after her first marriage to never be subservient again, because it sounds like she was forced to be subservient, or I don't know, but she has always been more confrontational. She seems, compared to the other sister wives, especially when she first entered the family, which was like 10 years ago, she seemed more independent in a way. Also, it's possible that she just feels more comfortable with Cody because they have new love, and so she might feel more safe to talk back to him or something. And the talking back phrase is used again, which is interesting that I keep using that, even though it infantilizes them. Anyway, so another thing that it seems that Cody in the past, when the sister wives would be conflicting with him, sometimes as a group, he would have a way of smoothing things over that doesn't seem to be happening anymore for Cody. He seems to have a short fuse, and I don't know what that is about, but that doesn't bode well, because I think without him being flexible and throwing himself under the bus sometimes, I think that's, at least in this system, I think it's a critical component of how they come together. So I don't know what that means, but the other possibility is that they're just more comfortable around the cameras, which seems to be true, because in the first number of seasons, the first 10 seasons, I would notice that compared to other reality TV shows, the cast members don't really reveal much. And a lot of questions would be asked at like the tell-alls and whatnot, and the adults would really hem and haw and answer the question in a very political way that didn't reveal much. And I, as a citizen, am like, oh, I want to know more. But I guess as a therapist and as a human being, I'm like, look, if they have a boundary about that, God bless them, because they deserve to have privacy. Just because they're on a reality TV show doesn't mean they have to talk about everything. And they seem to have this policy, generally speaking, about decorum and what you can and cannot talk about in public or with others. And that also seems to apply with the sister wives things. It's like, look, if you're curious about the sexual life of your sister wife and your husband, it's not okay to start asking those questions. There are boundaries about that sort of thing, and just don't go there. So I think they have a pretty robust system of not revealing things, but they seem to be more so now. So I don't know if that's just they're more comfortable, or they've changed their policy, or they feel like they need to show off to the camera more, make their case to the camera more, because they notice that the chatter on the internet is against them, or there's a percentage against them, so they feel like they have to get the word out or something. Or they're starting to break down as a family or something. Or another possibility is that they're following in Robyn's footsteps because she's a lot more upfront. She seems, getting back to the infantilizing word, for among the four sister wives, not so much anymore, but in the beginning number of seasons, Robyn seemed the most adult-like when she would talk to Cody. The other sister wives, maybe not so much Janelle, but Janelle, she seems such like an avoider. And what do I know? I can only tell from the edit. But Mary and Christine seem to approach Cody from that of like a child, or, I don't know, a subordinate on some level. Whereas Robyn never seemed to have that approach to Cody. And I think it's a possibility that the other sister wives are following suit. I don't know. But getting to my notes. Oh, another thing that has been talked about more this season is the wives reveal on camera that they never liked living together. Not so much Robyn. It wasn't Robyn. The other sister wives, Mary and Janelle, and particularly Christine, in one-on-one interviews, they're like, yeah, I never liked living with the other sister wives. I never liked living in all one house in Lehigh. And I've never admitted that to the camera or to others, or maybe even to myself, but I never liked living with each other. And that's like, whoa, what a change of narrative, right? Because that's not what they've been saying. So I wonder if that's rewriting history or if it's always been that way. There's the whole conversation about this culture and this religious group as to whether, what sort of messages are being taught to the women here and what agency that they have. Anyway, let's see. Christine and Robyn don't want to live in one house. Oh, Robyn, okay, right. They say they don't want to face the reality of the other marriages. Christine in particular says that she doesn't want to see the other marriages taking place because she'll get really jealous. She seems to be getting increasingly jealous. I think of Robyn, I'm not sure. The other thing is, though, they willingly years ago decided to be a polygamist family, and so there seems to be some tension there, or some revisiting of the question of polygamy, or I don't know. Janelle doesn't seem to mind. She she criticizes Christine for having jealousy about that. It's like, look, you're in a polygamous family. Just look the other way, or don't pay attention, or deal with the jealousy. That's always the situation. Don't go into denial about the fact that your husband is married to 3 other women. So there seemed to be some kind of difference of opinion there. Mary says she agrees with Cody a lot, but it's pretty obvious that she doesn't agree with Cody, in my opinion. And so let me just briefly talk about this. I haven't been showing these clips because there's a lot of different clips that I'm now kind of processing, that it seems like Mary wants out of the family, but she doesn't know it, or yeah, that's probably it. I think she wants out of the family, but she doesn't know it. That's a stretch. It's just speculation. I can't know, but a lot of her actions point in that direction. But I think due to her upbringing and her life, she doesn't really know what she wants, and I don't think she feels like she has the right to think about what she wants. And so and also I imagine she's terrified of being on her own, because she might not have ever been that way, right? And in any contemplation of divorce, there's this terror of just like, well, what does this mean? Anyway, so I think that Mary outwardly will say, I agree with you, Cody, but her actions will demonstrate differently, like the opposite, and people, namely Cody, will notice that and is feeling kind of like it's, what people will say is that it's gaslighting, but a better phrase is like crazy making. I don't know if you can hear my stomach. I'm a little hungry. Going on. Cody thinks that Christy doesn't like polygamy anymore. Cody tries to listen to Christine's complaints, but doesn't go well. Mary said that Christine is choosing to be closed to one big home. Janelle wants to live in one big house. Oh, okay. So I guess I had that wrong earlier. Anyway, Robyn wants to live at least close to each other so they can be a family. Yeah, Robyn seems to be the only one. Janelle, I think, also wants this, but Janelle, it's always hard to know what she wants in her heart, because she just doesn't really reveal. She doesn't wear her heart on her sleeve. Robyn seems to do that more. And Robyn, I think she just really wants, because, when she entered the family, she was willingly saying, I want to marry into polygamy, and I want to be married to everybody, not only Cody, but these sister wives, and I want to have a family. I want to have a togetherness. And it seemed to be a big deal to her. She knew what she was getting into, right? And immediately, as soon as she entered the family, they moved to Vegas, and they all were in different homes around Vegas, and then they moved into the cul-de-sac, but they were still in different homes. So Robyn seems to have this nostalgic idea of what the family used to be like, and she really seems to want to do that. And as a part of that, she wants to live in the same house or at least in the same area. They have a big rental because they have to leave the big rental house because the owners are selling. Cody wants to buy something. Yeah, anyway.
I want this.
You know, we had this really great situation in Las Vegas. You know, my kids were thriving. And Cody comes with this idea, let's move. We're gonna create this wonderful living experience next to each other again. This is the promise that I've made to my kids, right? And now he's talking about investing, and I'm just like, you are breaking your promise. You're breaking your promise.
So, right, I was talking about that she is upset and she wants to live as one family. It's very important to her. And what she's perceiving is that Cody doesn't seem to want it as badly as he said in the beginning. And I think maybe as he wanted in the beginning. I think I'm trying to remember, it was so long ago, but I think that when they decided to get different houses in Vegas, was that a together decision that they made? Did he want to live in all one house? I don't remember that. Anyway, but he was very much pushing to have everyone live in the same cul-de-sac. And other people were interested in that too, but not as much as he was. So anyway, she's upset. She wants for herself and her kids, and it's kind of funny. You know, I'm a big Beatles fan, and there are some parallels to the Beatles in terms of their breakup. That Paul McCartney was the one that, from the inside, if you were on the inside of the Beatles as they were breaking up, he was the one who was really trying to keep things together, and everyone else was like, yeah, maybe, and it was very frustrating and hard for everybody. And so in a way, she's like the Paul McCartney of the Beatles. As I don't know if they're breaking up, you know, I would imagine not, but at the very least, there's distance.
Because we promised them that we would get back together.
I'm going to look for rentals.
So you see that emotion, you see that sadness, that pain, and it's not just an intellectual thing for her. She, I think, really needs it, and I wonder what that has to do with. It could just have to do with what it on the surface looks like. She just wants family. She married. You know, from the outside, it's easy for us to look at these as like 4 separate marriages, but from the polygamist point of view, and I think from Robyn's point of view, it's not 4 separate marriages. It's one big family, and Robyn has yet to experience that. I think she really wants to. You know, she's the one that was really reaching out to Mary, and they seem to have a good connection. I think she reached out to Janelle and Christine as well, but I don't know if they gave each other the cold shoulder or something. I don't know. All right, so just chiming in here. The rest of this episode is going to be for YouTube members because I actually received an email from a professor in Utah commenting on a lot of the things that I have had questions about or things I've talked about regarding Utah and Mormons and the oppressive cultures and possibly related to the Browns and that kind of thing. And it's a long email and it has citations. It's like an academic paper, this email. And I actually have already recorded my response to the email, and it was like an hour long. I was just going to tack on a little bit at the end of this reaction video, but if it's an hour, it feels weird to just tack that on to like a 15, 20-minute reaction video. So I thought I would make this whole episode into a YouTube member exclusive video. So if you want to see me read the email and contemplate religion and culture and Mormons and sexism and families and the mindset and the cultification and then become a YouTube member. Otherwise, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.